Madam Speaker, members of the second sitting of the fifth session of the Fourth House of Assembly, good morning. The peace of the Lord be with you. Let us pray. God of our fathers and mothers, God of the universe, who has enabled this day to be and has chosen us to experience this day, may our heart exclaim, "This is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and we will be glad into today." We offer our gratitude to you for who you have caused us to be and to become, for offering to us a pathway of hope, and for choosing to partner with us and to call us to be part of your design for a new heaven and a new earth. As we walk with you, Lord, we recognize many challenges upon our way, but we are comforted in knowing that our help comes from you, and all the resources necessary to walk into our hope are provided by you. So today, as we meet, as we engage in debate and conversation towards a better society, we ask that you will give us a sense of vision for where you would have us to be, not just as members of the House, but as a people. Give us, O God, patience, and as we work in faith, believing that you will bring about our hope, give us a sense of unity, knowing that we are stronger together, for divided we will fray and we will fall apart. Give us a sense of duty, that our time is limited and we have responsibilities beyond ourselves, for we are called to ensure the good of all. Give us courage. You know we are weak and we falter, but be the one that stands alongside us as you give us of your Spirit, that we may not bend, fall, or break, but we may stand in the assurance of our hope, because our hope is in you. So bless us today. Thank you for all of the resources that you have made available to us. Give us grateful hearts for who you have caused us to be and where you have placed us today. So into your gracious care and keeping, we commit ourselves today in the trust that all will go well with us here as we conduct business, and all may go well with us in our territory today. We pray in the name of Jesus Christ, your Son, who taught us when we pray we ought to say together, "Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen. May the grace of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit accompany us this day and forever. Amen.
Good morning. Please be seated. This House now convenes its sitting. Before I call upon the clerk, I just wish to extend apologies for our late start. I call upon the clerk.
Confirmation of minutes.
I'm sorry, Madam Clerk, that was not noted. Could you say it again, please?
Item number 2, confirmation of minutes.
Thank you. Honorable members, is it your pleasure that the minutes of the meetings held on Tuesday, 24th January 2023, which have been circulated to members, be confirmed? There being no dissenting voice, the minutes hereby stand confirmed as circulated. I call upon the clerk.
3, item number 3, announcements by the Speaker.
Again, I just wish to say good morning to the honorable members, to the clerk and team, and to our listening audience. And I just wish you a great day today. I call upon the clerk.
Item number 4, statements by ministers.
I call upon the Honorable Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I have 3 statements. This first statement is an update on the implementation of the COI recommendations. Madam Speaker, thank you for another opportunity to update this Honorable House on the progress being made with the implementation of the recommendations of the Commission of Inquiry report. As we are at the start of a new session, it is important that I provide a general update. Madam Speaker, over the past 6 months, much work has been undertaken in response to the framework for the implementation of the COI recommendations, which is the timetable set forth by the Government of National Unity and agreed to with the United Kingdom government for achieving the recommended reforms. A number of key players have been engaged to ensure successful implementation of the recommendations. The COI Recommendations Implementation Unit has been fulfilling its mandate of coordinating with other implementing actors to ensure holistic approach and smooth implementation of the reforms. A number of reviewers and auditors have been hard at work sifting through the voluminous body of documents with respect to their respective tasks. The steering committee has provided oversight of the process, and monthly tripartite meetings chaired by the Governor and myself and attended by ministers, the Attorney General, the Financial Secretary, and permanent secretaries have been on schedule. In terms of reporting requirements, Madam Speaker, the COI unit has been submitting monthly reports to the Governor and to myself on the progress being made in implementing the various recommendations. Additionally, a summary of the monthly reports is published with a dashboard that gives a pictorial summary of the progress being made. This dashboard is available for everyone to view on the government's website, bvi.gov.vg. I do encourage everyone to check the dashboard regularly as it is continuously updated so they can see our progress firsthand. It is important to point out that this is not just a box-ticking exercise. Persons should not think that this is a meaningless exercise and the report submitted will be shelved. Beyond the reports, reform will be required in a number of areas. New policies and processes are likely to emerge. Our governance structures will be strengthened. Madam Speaker, in terms of our overall progress, work on 48 of the 50 framework recommendations has begun. It is important to note that those that have not yet started are not time-lapsed. That is to say, the time frame for commencement of those recommendations has not yet arrived. As of the 31st of December 2022, 15 of the recommendations have been completed and 33 recommendations are in progress. The recommendations are currently split into 132 actions. Of these, 52 are completed, 31 are in progress and on track, 26 are in progress but experiencing challenges, and 22 have not been started as yet. Again, in the case of actions not yet started, these are tasks that are dependent on the completion of other actions before they can commence. Ministries are now working on their January report submissions, so we can expect that with the submission of some additional reports by the end of this month, the percentage of those completed will increase. Madam Speaker, I am pleased that we are now concluding the process of appointing reviewers to undertake the various reviews recommended by the COI report. Mrs. Antoinette Skelton was recently appointed as the reviewer for recommendation B24, which will examine various governance structures and reporting obligations. She has already commenced her work. Yesterday, Cabinet agreed on the appointment of Mr. Kedrick Malone as a reviewer for recommendation B33 on residence and belanger status. The necessary appointment will be made in the coming days so that he can commence his review on the 1st of February. While the framework has provided additional opportunities to monitor the work of statutory bodies and to ensure that they are fulfilling their legal mandates, it must be noted that the Ministry of Finance already had a monitoring mechanism in place with statutory bodies where they were submitting quarterly reports. As there were some concerns expressed about the monitoring of statutory boards, a new reporting mechanism has been implemented that would now see them reporting on a quarterly basis to their parent ministries and a broader number of areas. I would like to thank all the public officers and private citizens who have undertaken the task of conducting reviews and audits over the past months. I know that it has been a daunting task of having to sift through so many documents while balancing other responsibilities, so I'm grateful for the sacrifices made. To date, we have received the following reports. Independent reviewers report from Mr. Jamal Smith on the establishment and maintenance of statutory boards. Mrs. Sheila Brathwaite, which was B29, review of the membership of statutory boards. Mrs. Dalmini, B1, review of the Commission of Inquiry Act. Mr. David Abendigo, B30, review of the processes for the disposal of Crown land. 2 Auditors General's reports. B12, the House of Assembly Assistance Grants have been completed. B22, Claude Skelton Klein Government Contract since 2019. B23, Easy Shipping Government Contracts for Radar Badges since 2019. Madam Speaker, these reports are now being reviewed. I would like to inform the public of the process that will be followed. The reports will be submitted to Cabinet and then laid on the table of the House of Assembly. The public will have an opportunity to review the reports, some of which will require input so that an action plan can be developed on implementing aspects of the reports as determined. I've already noticed many meaningful recommendations aimed at strengthening good governance and democracy and look forward to the eventual feedback once the reports are made public. Madam Speaker, while we have been making tremendous progress, I realize that there are some areas where we would have liked to have been further advanced in our progress. Madam Speaker, the Government of National Unity and I have always been forthwith in admitting that the timelines proposed in the framework were ambitious. We recognize and know the Virgin Islands community agrees that for what is at stake and the benefits that will accrue from strengthening our governance systems and processes, it is necessary and it will be worth it for us to push ourselves a bit harder. And we also recognize that as the work rolls out and emerging issues and unforeseen circumstances arise, we'd have to make adjustments. With the delay in commencing the public information and consultation process for the Constitutional Review, as well as some administrative delays, the chair of the Constitutional Review Commission has requested the full 18 months instead of the initial 12 months to complete the process. Another factor that we must take a closer look at is the time frame required for drafting new policies and legislation. Now that, through the ongoing work, Another factor that we must take a closer look at is the time frame required for drafting new policies and legislation. Now that, through the ongoing work, the scope of the legislative component of the reforms is becoming clearer. With a limited number of drafters in the Attorney General's chambers, it will be difficult to address all of the requirements for new policies and legislation within the time frames we initially set. This is something the government will seek to address so that we can get the work done in an acceptable time frame. Also, with the general elections constitutionally due by May of this year, the House of Assembly will have to be dissolved by March of this year. While the Government of National Unity will attempt to tackle as much of the legislative work that is possible before elections, we recognize the challenges to see the full legislative program through. What this means, however, is that the incoming 5th House of Assembly and the government will be in a position to carry forward the baton when it is handed over and to proceed with ample pace. Madam Speaker, with respect to the appointment of reviewers, the Governor and I have had a few challenges in selecting the right reviewers for certain important recommendations. The delayed appointments in some instances have prevented the reviews being completed before the agreed deadlines, and therefore the actions dependent on the completion of these reviews will now also be delayed. Additionally, a few reviewers have reverted to asking for more time in order to complete their remit in the most comprehensive manner. As I said earlier, and I continue to say, this is not a box-ticking exercise. It's about getting quality work done and properly implemented. Madam Speaker, the Government of National Unity has recognized that while reform must be done in a timely and expedited manner, the public must be informed and their views must be reflected in the reform for it to be sustainable and meaningful. As such, a few recommendations will need to include an extended period of public consultation. The Government of National Unity remains loyal to the undertaking we gave to the Virgin Islands people that they will be consulted on those matters where consultation is required and prudent. Madam Speaker, as agreed at our November tripartite meeting, I've written to the Governor with a request that he seek the United Kingdom government's approval of the requested extensions. I expect that we'll have further discussions on this matter with Lord Goldsmith when he visits next week. I wish to assure the public, Madam Speaker, that the Government of National Unity holds an unwavering commitment to COI implementation and the reform process in general. We will continue to maintain our momentum to complete the reform resulting from the recommendations from the Commission of Inquiry report. I also wish to take this opportunity to thank our public officers for their continuing support and dedication in this exercise. The implementation of the framework and reforms is one of the most critical undertakings in our history and in the development and advancement of the Virgin Islands and our people. We may not be able to fully appreciate the magnitude, significance, and benefits of this task today, but our future generations of Virgin Islanders will, and they will thank us for doing this work. So to those who have been burning the midnight oil, pushing themselves harder, and making personal sacrifices to get this work done, I want you to know that your territory appreciates your efforts, and as Premier, I say thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, my next statement, for the sake of the records of the House, is on the update on my recent official visit to the United Kingdom. Madam Speaker, in keeping with good parliamentary practice, respect for this honorable House, and respect for the people of the Virgin Islands, I am pleased to provide an update on my recent official visit to the United Kingdom, where I advanced the economic, political, and environmental interests of the territory. I traveled from the 16th to the 22nd of January 2023. Madam Speaker, let me say at the outset that I initiated the visit to the UK. I was not asked to come by London or by the new UK Minister for the Overseas Territories, Lord Goldsmith. In fact, I requested a meeting with Lord Goldsmith because it is important that the Virgin Islands and United Kingdom remain politically engaged on various issues of interest and concern to us. That is what it means to be in a mature partnership. You talk and engage. I was very pleased to have a bilateral meeting with Lord Goldsmith. Our discussion was constructive, warm, and frank. I very much appreciated his great interest in the sustainable development of the BVI. He was very keen on tapping UK support to assist the BVI's efforts to both conserve and sustainably use the environment. He also pledged to provide as much UK technical assistance as possible to assist us with continuing the work of reform. Madam Speaker, I did raise a concern about the order in Council currently being held in reserve. The Minister agreed that we would have a dedicated discussion on this in the very near future. While that particular issue needs to be resolved, I felt Lord Goldsmith was genuine about wanting a stronger partnership between the UK and the BVI that fairly balances the interests of both sides. I am aware that he will travel to the territory in a few short days, next week, and I look forward to engaging with him further. I was also very pleased that the UK Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office and UK Home Office had very good discussions with my delegation on medicinal cannabis, particularly with respect to the licensing of medical practitioners in the Virgin Islands to administer medicinal cannabis to patients. We have found a way forward on this aspect of medicinal cannabis and are proceeding to put the necessary regime in place. I'm grateful to the UK government for their support in this area. Madam Speaker, in terms of the UK Parliament, we had very successful engagement with UK parliamentarians. A reception at Parliament was graciously hosted by Mr. James Sunderland, MP, who serves as the chair of the BVI All-Party Parliamentary Group. My delegation and I interacted with many parliamentarians who have a very keen interest in the BVI. Many of them genuinely want to see the UK be as supportive as possible to the OTs. I got very good insight and advice on issues of interest to us, and I believe we are making progress in improving the image of the Virgin Islands in that political institution. I also had a very good bilateral meeting with the Shadow Minister for the Overseas Territories, Mr. Stephen Darty. He explained the views of the Labour Party and the OTs, and I gave him a clear understanding of the Virgin Islands' economic, political, and environmental priorities. He pledged to take these into account in future debates in the House of Commons and in discussion with the Labour Party, within the Labour Party. Of course, I was very pleased to have a bilateral meeting with the Speaker of the House of Commons, the Honourable Lindsay Hoyle, MP. The Speaker is a champion of the Virgin Islands and Overseas Territories and was very gracious with his time. We had an excellent discussion on how the registers of interest works in the UK Parliament. He also provided other very helpful insights that I will discuss with my colleagues in the House of Assembly. On the economic front, Madam Speaker, my delegation and I had a very productive roundtable discussion with the financial services industry in the UK. The industry was represented by those firms who also operate out of the Virgin Islands. We were able to update them on legislative developments and plans for the year ahead. The feedback was very good, and together we are committed to ensuring the jurisdiction remains competitive. I also attended a business roundtable with the Caribbean Council to gauge interest in investment in the Virgin Islands, particularly in the tourism sector and our airport expansion. Some of our current suppliers of certain goods and services were also present, with whom I had good exchanges. There's keen interest in the Virgin Islands economy and an appetite to invest. My team will be following up with our business partners and those with an interest in investing to help move our economy forward. Madam Speaker, in terms of environmental partnerships, I had an excellent visit to Southampton, where I signed a memorandum of understanding between the University of Southampton and the Virgin Islands. This is an excellent partnership that will assist the Virgin Islands in researching and documenting our environment and finding solutions to problems such as climate change. The blue economy will also be a major focus. I also attended a meeting with one of our existing partners, the National Oceanographic Center. They presented to me the progress being made on their work in mapping our marine environment. We will soon better know what these assets are and how they can be leveraged to help address the climate problem, particularly using carbon markets that will be beneficial to us in the Virgin Islands. In terms of our educational and cultural cooperation, my delegation and I also visited Hertfordshire County Council, with whom we also have an MOU. We discussed cultural and academic exchange and cooperation in relation to tourism. We'll be following up on this very soon. Madam Speaker, regarding the engagement with Virgin Islanders in the UK, I was very happy to virtually engage with our students and citizens who attended a town hall meeting and luncheon at BVI House. Fortunately, Permanent Secretary Mrs. Carolyn Stout-Igwe and I were able to participate once our hotel rooms in Antigua and Barbuda were available. Unfortunately, we were unable to travel to London due to technical difficulties with our flight that grounded the plane. However, I listened to the concerns of the students and responded to them. I also updated them on matters at home. By the end of the town hall, 3 students had been paired with government agencies for summer internships, which I am very happy about. It was also my pleasure while in London to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the BVI London office at the annual Premier's reception. Many of our friends and supporters were present for the occasion, as well as members of the diplomatic corps in London representing countries in the Caribbean, Latin America, Asia, and Africa. Finally, Madam Speaker, I was very pleased that on my instruction, members of my delegation visited Brussels to meet with counterparts in the European Union. Despite Brexit, the EU is a major actor in world affairs with whom the Virgin Islands must engage as a partner, particularly in areas of common interest such as financial services. Among other things, the delegation discussed various economic issues and thanked EU officials for the last round of development assistance received late last year. I'd like to thank my entire delegation and the BVI London office for their support in making my official visit a success. I thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, my last statement is on the rated program. Bear with me, Madam Speaker. Let me just get this right. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Government of National Unity is mindful that there exist in the national community persons who, for varied reasons, experience periods of unemployment and/or underemployment, and therefore have difficulty providing for the needs of their families and meeting their regular expenses. These persons rely on the government's social welfare programs and non-governmental organizations to meet their needs, the resources for which are limited and add to the burden on the public purse. Many of these individuals are able to work and would prefer to work, but are unable to secure meaningful, steady employment for varying reasons. Madam Speaker, the Government of National Unity is also mindful that there are many instances in the public and private sectors where there's a need for workers on a temporary basis to assist with special projects or to bridge short-term gaps. Additionally, the private sector may have vacant positions, but may have difficulty finding persons with sufficient work experience and training among the local population. There are therefore potential opportunities for persons who are willing to work to be able to obtain employment if the barriers such as training and experience and the cost of employing a trainee or apprentice are mitigated. In this regard, Madam Speaker, the government deemed it prudent to introduce a program to provide temporary employment for individuals who may need it and to create pathways for individuals to acquire training and experience to improve their employment situation, suitability for employment, and marketability in the job market. Madam Speaker, the Registration, Apprenticeship Training, Employment and Development Program seeks to provide a pathway for persons who are unemployed or who are underemployed to obtain opportunities through short-term employment, apprenticeship and/or training, education and development. This program empowers participants, reduces the burden on the public purse, and reduces the instances of social ills that result from persons not being gainfully employed or engaged through participants' engagement in work and training opportunities. The pathways are: 1, temporary employment for short periods, providing services in government departments where there's a need for additional labor. 2, apprenticeship on stipend with public and private sector organizations that agree to partner with the government in the program. And 3, training, education and skills development through courses and programs offered by the H. Lavity Stoutt Community College and other training institutions. Madam Speaker, since the approval of this project on 26 November 2022, a total of 418 persons have registered with the rated program. Madam Speaker, the breakdown of this is as follows: 337 registered in the area of landscaping and field work, 79 registered in the area of administration, 12 applicants received did not qualify. Madam Speaker, a total of 76 persons have been placed since the inception of the program, which began in December 2022. The breakdown of those placements, Madam Speaker, are as follows: 59 persons have received temporary assignments in the area of landscaping and bush cutting. 6 persons have received temporary assignments in administration. 5 persons have received temporary assignments in construction. 5 persons have received temporary assignments in trucking. 1 person has received a temporary assignment in sanitation. Madam Speaker, applicants in the various pathways are assigned on a first-come, first-served basis. Employers requesting apprentices will also be served on a first-come, first-served basis. The purpose of the rotation methodology and first-come, first-served is to guard against favoritism and to ensure fairness in the access to the opportunities of the program. The Premier's office continues to prepare listings for participants under the various pathways and employers based on the order of application and will conduct assignments accordingly. When the list is exhausted, selection will continue from the top of the list, ensuring rotation. I would like to take this opportunity to once again encourage members of the public who are interested in accessing the opportunities offered by the rated program to register for the program. I must emphasize that this program covers a very wide range of job types, not just those mentioned above. The program applies to other areas where there is a need for personnel, such as in-office work, data entry, digitizing records, plumbing, and electrical work, and so forth. Madam Speaker, the government is partnering with the H. Lavity Stoutt Community College to implement training opportunities for the participants. I'm pleased to announce that the first training course in the area of electrical work is ready to commence in partnership with H. Lavity Stoutt Community College. I encourage persons that are interested in learning the trade of an electrician to call the Premier's office and register your interest so that you can be registered to participate in the upcoming training program and to get more information. It is important for prospective employers to tell the government what their needs are and for job seekers to tell us what kinds of jobs they want and what kind of support they need to access these jobs, so that this information can be taken into consideration as we continue to grow the program and to implement further phases. Madam Speaker, the Premier's office is continuing to work on operationalizing all the elements of the rated program. This includes working with our partners to develop the training and development component and the apprenticeship component. I will provide further progress updates on the rated program as we continue forward. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Premier. I now recognize the Deputy Premier and Minister for Communications and Work, Honorable Kai Reimer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On 12 October 2020, the government of the Virgin Islands broke ground at the new Market Square location in Road Town. Subsequent to the groundbreaking ceremony, we were able to successfully temporarily relocate the vendors that operated at the Market Square location over to a temporary location adjacent to the Road Town Fire Station. Madam Speaker, the Road Town Market Square is a historical site which was established in the 1970s and was the fourth official market day venue in the territory. Therefore, this project is a signature project of the government and is intended to foster entrepreneurship and economic growth. Madam Speaker, I'll take this opportunity to describe in brief the summary of works that have taken place to achieve the overall product before us today. Works commenced with demolishing the previous Market Square building and other adjacent structures. Water and electrical conduits were laid to service the kiosk and bandstand building. The first building constructed on the site was the bandstand building, which will serve as a central gathering area for events that may be held at the Market Square. 16 kiosks have been constructed. 10 kiosks are 12 by 12 feet in dimension, while 6 kiosks are 10 by 10 feet. The kiosks are outfitted with a sink and faucet, lighting, a duplex outlet, and a countertop for vending purposes. Although not installed yet, each kiosk will have shutters to enclose the kiosk to protect against vandalism and provide adequate security. All kiosks are equipped with a sink for sanitary purposes. They are also fitted with lighting and power supply to facilitate vendor operations, even during the nighttime. Solar lights were also installed to provide sufficient lighting to the square and reduce the overall electricity consumption charges. Madam Speaker, the restroom building is fitted with a total of 8 stalls, 5 stalls on the female side, with 1 being handicap accessible. The male side has 3 stalls, with 1 being handicap accessible, and 3 urinals. Also, each side, male and female, has a baby changing station and a concrete throw sink for hand washing. Madam Speaker, special attention has been given to ensure that the building is resilient and secure with concrete divided walls and shutters at the closure of the entrances. The construction of concrete box drain and the trenching and laying of the drain pipes have been completed. Careful attention has been given to ensure that the Market Square has adequate drainage to ensure that areas remain a viable site for business operation during heavy rain events. Madam Speaker, you may have been inconvenienced by the work to install the drain crossing that is intended to discharge the storm water collected in the Market Square into the existing public drainage system. Additionally, we have altered the design to include more soft landscaping with grass, shrubs, and trees to allow for better drainage during inclement events. The road and walkways have been completed. The concrete road will serve as a service road to allow vendors to drop off and pick up supplies. The road will also service the adjoining buildings in the Market Square site. The concrete walkways serve as a central pathway to access to the kiosk, bandstand, restrooms, and bus shelter by identifying a defined pathway for patrons to enjoy the overall ambience of the Market Square. To complete the entire upgrade will be the landscaping that will include installation of grass area, palm trees, and small shrubs. This final building that will shortly be constructed is the bus shelter. The bus shelter will be the main hub for the collection of passengers to alleviate the dangerous practice of bus operators collecting passengers at the beginning of Sir Walter Francis dual carriageway. The bus shelter is expected to be 36 feet in length and is estimated to accommodate over 30 persons to ensure that there is a safe sheltered area for passengers. In preparation for opening the facility, we have offered first rights of refusal to the original vendors of the old Market Square that were temporarily displaced during construction. Madam Speaker, I take this opportunity to invite applicants to apply for one of the 16 kiosks, and we are currently offering the 10 by 10 kiosks at a rate of $300 and the 12 by 12 kiosks at a rate of $450 monthly. In addition, Madam Speaker, as the Market Square is in the territory's capital, it is important that the Virgin Islands be represented in a whole. As a result, we have dedicated a kiosk specifically for our brothers and sisters from the outer islands to add to the creative product in our territory's capital Market Square. So the kiosk will be available for persons coming from the sister islands to be able to have a space and will be able to offer their produce or their product in the Market Square. Madam Speaker, we consider this project to be substantially completed and ready for occupancy. So today, I want to announce that to this Honorable House that the opening of the facility is scheduled for the 13th of February, 2022. The new facility will initially be managed and operated by Wickham Ski Development Authority. However, we will shortly be inviting tenders for a management contract to oversee the Rotown Market Square. It is anticipated that the Market Square will not be considered as just a market only, but as a general attraction for patrons to enjoy a leisurely time strolling through and patronizing a diverse selection of vendors providing various goods and products. Madam Speaker, applications can be collected from the Wickham Ski Development Office on Main Street. And this historical Market Square redevelopment will enhance the town's overall appeal, aesthetics, and general outlook to the benefit of residents and visitors alike. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Premier. I now recognize Minister for Natural Resources and Labor, Honorable Melvin M. Turnbull.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to give the following statement on the MOU between Southampton and the Southampton University UK and the BVI government, which was mentioned by the Honorable Premier, who executed that contract or understanding on last week, Thursday, in the United Kingdom. Madam Speaker, on Thursday, the 19th of January, the Honorable Premier, Dr. Nathaniel D. Wheatley, during his recent official visit to the United Kingdom, signed into effect a Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, between the BVI government and the prestigious University of Southampton. The University of Southampton's Marine and Maritime Institute and Public Policy Southampton, in fact, have a previous established partnership with the BVI government around environmental efforts in place since the previous administration. A press release would have been released about the MOU signing, but since the area of interest falls under my remit as Minister for Natural Resources and Labor, I wish to delve a little further into the specifics that may be expected from the newly formed partnership. Madam Speaker, we cannot speak about the economy of the BVI or even our reputation without acknowledging the importance of the natural resources being presented and further developed. This partnership, therefore, creates opportunities to help secure the BVI tourism product, our overall quality of life, and the success of our blue economy for generations to come. Madam Speaker, I must add as well that the University of Southampton ranks amongst the top 100 universities in the world and is hence amongst a lot of other universities important in this aspect of maritime and the environment to the BVI. So here are some ways, Madam Speaker, in which our environmental units and our educational institutions will benefit from this memorandum of understanding. And this is a 5-year understanding that we would work between the University of Southampton and the HLS Community College, together with the Ministry of Education, the Premier's Office, and the Ministry of Natural Resources and Labor. Number one, the exchange of scientific, academic, and technical information and materials of mutual interest to also include organization and participation in joint activities such as seminars and conferences. Two, mutual visits of faculty and school members to pursue research and innovation opportunities. Three, the opportunity to join in research and development in disciplines of mutual interest. Four, the development of joint research funding applications on areas of mutual interest. And five, the identification of opportunities for commercialization of technology. Madam Speaker, on the 30th of November last year, Cabinet approved the Blue Economy Roadmap, which strategizes the future development of our waters. What I don't think most persons realize is that the Virgin Islands are stewards of more water than we are of land. The experts of the Ministry of Natural Resources and Labor report that we have the rights and responsibilities to just over 200 nautical miles of water and ocean space, which is some 500 times more than our land real estate. Therefore, Madam Speaker, this MOU with the University of Southampton is actually an investment in the territory that is far-reaching. We are a small island developing state with the opportunity to develop existing ocean-based sectors such as fisheries and tourism, as well as create new sectors. But we are now much more empowered to do so while ensuring that our ocean sustainability is utilized. I wish to thank the Premier and Minister of Finance and his delegation for their representation, and not just for the understanding, but also supporting the work of the Ministry of Natural Resources and Labor. I thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I will go on now to the second statement, and this is regarding the unauthorized use of beaches in the territory. Madam Speaker, I wish to address the important and concerning issue of significance to increase or decrease, Madam Speaker, the unauthorized use of beaches in our territory. Our beaches are arguably the BVI's most important assets, contributing significantly to our quality of life as residents and to our economy. A 2013 study entitled Tourism Value of the Environment, carried out by the Institute of Environmental Studies, University of Amsterdam, found that 75.8% of tourists surveyed agree that the beaches in the BVI are particularly beautiful. Like any asset, Madam Speaker, that is valuable and yet fragile and expected to stand. One second, Madam Speaker, I am challenged technically. Technology is technical. Apologize, Madam Speaker. Like any asset that is valuable yet fragile and expected to stand the test of time, our beaches must be cared for and wisely managed. Madam Speaker, our beaches are instead suffering from the misuse and abuse and what may be described as a management crisis. The Ministry of Natural Resources and Labor is responsible for the management and the beaches in the territory of the Virgin Islands that fall outside the boundaries of declared national parks. The ministry is continuing to take steps to improve the management of our beaches in the territory, and the degree of success of these efforts depends on the levels of understanding and cooperation of our and Madam Speaker, as a part of the ministry's management measures to ensure that the use of beaches does not degrade the beach environment or result in conflict between the different users, the ministry has had a long-standing practice requiring permission of all commercial uses and certain non-commercial uses of beaches. The practice was formalized as a policy in 2020 with Cabinet's approval of the Virgin Islands Beach Policy, which is available on the ministry's website at bvi.gov.vg/environment. The beach policy requires that persons apply to the Ministry of Natural Resources and Labor to use beaches for any commercial activity regardless of the size of operation, presence or absence of a structure, type of structure, or whether it's temporary or permanent operation. This applies to all bars or restaurant operations, snack vending, souvenir crafting, beach chair rentals, water sport operations, other nature-based activities, hair braiding services, spa massages services, or any other activities involving the sale of goods and services at the beach. The policy, Madam Speaker, requires that the ministry's approval of non-commercial activities in cases where there would be groups larger than 50 persons, loudspeakers, or open fires. Madam Speaker, the requirement is that an application be filed or letter written to the Ministry of Natural Resources and Labor for approval, and then the patrons will have the opportunity to carry on their business or their activity. So the ministry is aware that many persons and organizations are carrying out commercial activities and non-commercial activities and events on beaches without the required permission. And in carrying out these activities, in addition to violating the beach policy, in many instances, persons are building structures on beach illegally and even squatting on the Crown's land. Persons are also operating without basic legal requirements such as a trade license, liquor license, and the food handler's license. In addition to requiring permission for the use outlined above, Madam Speaker, the beach policy sets out perimeters within which persons must operate to ensure protection of the beaches and the enjoyment for all users. For example, the policy states that no equipment or beach chairs should remain on the sandy areas of the beach unless they are in use. All items not in use must be immediately removed from the sandy area. And Madam Speaker, we've seen and observed on numerous occasions a direct violation on several of the beaches in the territory. This violation puts an impact on the public's ability to enjoy the beach and the sand, as often covered with empty beach chairs during the weekend periods, preventing users from accessing preferred areas of the beach and obstructing the views of persons. Madam Speaker, in addition to managing the beach, as an important measure to stabilize and conserve beaches to generations to come, the beach policy prohibits persons from cutting beach vegetation. Yet, Madam Speaker, we see instances, including very recently at Long Bay Beef Island Beach, where commercial operators take it upon themselves without any discussion or approvals from the Ministry of Natural Resources and Labor to clear a large section of areas of beach vegetation. Madam Speaker, while it falls within the ministry's mandate, everyone has to collectively be responsible for proper management of our beaches by complying with the beach policy and respecting all applicable laws of this territory. Madam Speaker, one reason for my intervention today is to again make the public aware of all the requirements to apply for permission to use the beaches for any commercial activity as well as non-commercial activity uses in all cases where larger than 50. Loudspeakers or open fires, and we have to remind persons that other requirements around the beach use set out in the beach policy. However, Madam Speaker, the main purpose of my intervention is to warn all members of the public and commercial operators that the ministry will not continue to tolerate such blatant violations around beach use and management. The ministry will collaborate with the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force, the community partners, town and country planning department, trade department, attorney generals, and other relevant authorities to uphold the beach policy and to enforce the applicable legislation. That means, Madam Speaker, in the future, persons can expect for unapproved events and commercial activities to be discontinued. Madam Speaker, we are simply asking that persons comply with the rules and regulations, seek the necessary approvals and follow the processes that we have, because if we don't preserve and protect the beaches, Madam Speaker, then we will chase away the very business and revenue that we're trying to generate. So it is a partnership that we're asking persons to comply with the policies, comply and communicate with the ministry so that we can have a continued enjoyment of our beaches for generations yet to come. Madam Speaker, we all love our beaches and we benefit greatly from them. But those benefits will soon stop flowing if we as a community don't quickly learn together to respect our environment and our fellow beach users. I urge all listening publics to continue to partner with us by supporting our efforts to enhance the beach policy as by the Ministry of Natural Resources and Labor. Madam Speaker, I have one more and I will be concluding. Bear with me, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the final statement that I'll be making is on the Rezimbrid funding, where we had a press release ago, but I think it important, Madam Speaker, and I thought it important to present it before this honorable House. Madam Speaker, today I'm pleased to further highlight the recent developments within the Ministry of Natural Resources and Labor pertaining to funding. The ministry is in receipt of a grant from the European Union and their partner, France, in the amount of 927,890 euros, or approximately 965,000 US dollars, through the overseas countries and territories, Resilient Sustainable Energy and Marine Biodiversity Program, Rezimbrid. This grant builds on the support received from the European Union to assist with environment management activities in the Virgin Islands, and it will enhance the current water quality monitoring program. Prior efforts certified on the implementation of the Global Climate Change Alliance project, which delivered tangible projects in the communities of King Garden Bay and Bruce Bay in the form of coastal stabilization and drainage to increase the resilience of those communities. As mentioned in the previous statement, Madam Speaker, the Virgin Islands relies on the coastal and marine areas for its research, recreation, food resource, and tourism amenities. More rely on clean coastal waters to support the lives and livelihoods. Our potable water comes from desalinated water collected from near. Therefore, the standard of care from the sources of our drinking water needs to be high. Madam Speaker, the Water Quality Monitoring Program, in part, provides that the base of evidence required to inform actions leading to better outcomes for our coastal and marine areas and enhance human well-being. Speaker, I am sure that all of us present here today, as well as the community at large, can appreciate that when I say that we've experienced noticeable damage in recent times to our marine ecosystems, particularly in some of the reefs and coastlines, this Resembrit project, entitled Strengthening Our Virgin Islands Water Quality Program to Inform Effective and Environmental Management of Financial Planning, could not have come at a better and more. Thank you, Madam Speaker. If this was a particular mic, it wouldn't be feeding back or shutting down. Honorable Smith. Madam Speaker, I was saying that this partnership could not have come at a more opportune time. It builds on water quality program undertaken by the Ministry of Natural Resources and Labor's Environment and Climate Change Unit. This project strives to address the constraints that exist within the current water quality program through a number of ways, which I will list, Madam Speaker. One, the redesign of comprehensive water quality monitoring program. Two, the capacity building of the Ministry of Natural Resources and Labor staff and its implementing partners, which include the H. Laverty Stout Community College, the National Parks Trust, and the Department of Information Technology. Three, the procurement of a vessel to support the work of the environmental unit and much needed water quality testing and IT equipment, including hardware and software, to support expanded monitoring and enhanced data warehousing and analysis. And four, establishment of water quality baselines for areas and water quality parameters of concern that are not currently covered by the existing program. Madam Speaker, the products of this project will therefore benefit the environmental managers, potable water managers, decision makers within the government of the Virgin Islands, fishery managers, tourism managers, the yachting industry, and the fisher folk, Madam Speaker. This project will create a strong scientific evidence base that will further support enhanced environmental legislation, maritime spatial planning, and decision-making that will continue to be increased for the resilience of our coastal and marine waters and biodiversity. I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to the European Union, Expertise France, and our colleagues at Resembrit for the financial resources required to take action and protect our marine resources. Our lives depend on a clean and healthy natural environment, and this project, Madam Speaker, will enable the territory to achieve its sustainable development goals for conservation of our precious natural resources. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. I now recognize the Minister for Education, Culture, Youth Affairs and Sport, Honorable Shari Di Castro.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I take this opportunity to give an update on the ESHS redevelopment project for the records of this Honorable House. Madam Speaker, I wish to update this Honorable House on the successful completion of the ESHS redevelopment project, which signified a major investment in the infrastructure that supports education in the Virgin Islands. In 2017, the August floods and the hurricanes Irma and Maria in September completely devastated the Elmo Stout High School campus. Administration, teachers, and students were displaced and dislocated, and thus in 2019, the reconstruction of the Ella Doherty Turnbull building was crucial to the resumption of school after the devastation of 2017. Madam Speaker, facilities make a difference. The overall building conditions of schools, including thermal comfort, indoor air quality, lighting, noise, and internal design elements impact student outcomes and achievements. Naturally, as buildings age, the individual building elements vary in life expectancy and levels of maintenance. Of course, added to this, the impact of the floods and hurricanes of 2017 on school infrastructure across the territory, especially at the Elmore Stout High School, was unimaginable. Madam Speaker, after 5 school years and 1 term, the full complement of staff and students of the Elmore Stout High School finally returned to the same campus for full-day school for the first time since the storms of 2017. I take this opportunity to thank the team at the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Finance, Recovery and Development Agency, and the contractors for their unwavering commitment to the successful execution of this project in a timely and cost-efficient manner. Madam Speaker, following the reopening ceremony of the new wing of the Elmore Stout High School on Tuesday, 3rd January, ESHS opened its doors to full-day school for all students in grades 7 to 12. Approximately 1,500 students and 150 educators assembled on the campus on Wednesday, 4th January. Students and teachers are adapting to the new environment and are excited and elated to be in the new space. The ministry is pleased with the first few weeks of school and continue to observe and correct matters as they arise through engagement with the Recovery and Development Agency, contractors, and the maintenance unit in the Ministry of Education. We are still eagerly awaiting the arrival of some furniture and equipment, and we look forward to putting them to use upon arrival. The ministry would like to thank all stakeholders for their patience and support as we adjust to full-day school at the Elmore Stout High School campus. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'd also like to give an update on education reform and curriculum development. Madam Speaker, this school year, the Ministry of Education has endeavored to reimagine education as we work to better prepare our students to be leaders in an ever-changing world. The theme for the 2022-2023 school year is Virgin Islands Education Moving Full Steam Ahead: Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Mathematics. Madam Speaker, these areas provide a new approach to teaching and focuses on the development of creativity, innovation, critical thinking, problem solving, collaboration, and communication, which are key 21st century skills for all students. As we reimagine education, it is crucial for us to review the existing curriculum to ensure that it aligns with the tenets of STEAM education. This includes what subjects are offered, what topics are covered, at what developmental stage, which strategies are used, and a shift in focus from content knowledge to the application of 21st century skills. Madam Speaker, the last curriculum review was done in 2017, and therefore we are long overdue for a review which will commence shortly. Integral to this mandate is the provision of modern and effective resources for early childhood languages, mathematics, science, technical subjects, music, art, physical education, and special education. This is because we strongly believe that our schools must be fully equipped with the necessary resources to facilitate teaching and learning efficiently. Hence, the ministry is moving forward with procuring educational manipulatives and teaching aids for all subject areas. The review of the Education Act is in its final stages of completion, and a number of policies such as the Early Childhood Education Policy, the Special Education Policy, Promotion, Placement, and Retention Policy, Graduation Requirements, STEAM Policy and Curriculum Policy, Professional Standards for Educators, as well as an update to the Discipline Policy and Student Code of Conduct are being created or amended to support the transformation of education in the territory. Madam Speaker, in order for change to take place in our education system, there are areas that we must reimagine, adjust, and introduce. Thus, as the world changes, so must education to ensure our society remains relevant. The aforementioned areas represents the ministry's commitment to supporting curriculum development and educational reform in the Virgin Islands. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Lastly, I would like to give an update on the Effective Leadership Training Program. Madam Speaker, I thank you for this opportunity to inform this Honorable House and the community about the Effective Leadership Training Program, which commenced on January 18th through a partnership between the Ministry of Education, Youth Affairs and Sports and the Institute of Education at the H. Laverty Stout Community College. Madam Speaker, 4 newly appointed principals and assistant principals and 30 aspiring principals and leaders comprise the cohort of educators who have started to be trained as part of this initiative. The position of the Ministry of Education is that effective school leadership is necessary for school success, teacher retention, and student achievement. Worldwide, regional and local data corroborates that thriving schools are led by visionary, transformational leaders who are innovative and driven to ensure that their students are exposed to engaging and effective learning opportunities. Against this backdrop, we have partnered with the Institute to develop a robust training program intended to strengthen the leadership capacity of present and future school leaders and, by extension, strengthen this territory's schools. Madam Speaker, the program is comprised of face-to-face sessions on topics such as instructional leadership, emotional intelligence, leading change and innovation, managing human resources, and leading special education, among others. Madam Speaker, modules such as instructional leadership will offer insight into the importance of monitoring classroom practice, identifying effective practice, and supporting teachers to become experts in the classroom. Leadership requires emotional intelligence, and this module provides insight into how leaders should expertly handle the varying personalities that undoubtedly comprise any organization. The ministry has secured several local experts in the field of educational leadership to facilitate these 3-hour sessions. In addition, Madam Speaker, the participants will be tasked with developing initiatives and programs required to collaborate with other leaders in their schools to develop these programs to address some of our schools' most pressing needs. The ministry looks forward with anticipation to the increased leadership capacity that will result from the leadership training program. Madam Speaker, this school year, the ministry implemented mandatory professional development of 20 hours per teacher each school year. The Effective Leadership Training Program is yet another avenue to fulfill that professional development requirement and to support teaching and learning in the Virgin Islands. I thank the team at the Ministry of Education and the Institute of Education at the H. Laverty Stout Community College for their continued commitment, and I look forward to continued collaboration with the Institute and its affiliate universities to continue the ministry's mandate of increasing opportunities for training and development of educators in the Virgin Islands. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. At this time, we'll just take a very brief recess. House is now in recess. Thank you. House now resumes its sitting. I call upon the clerk.
Item number 5, presentation of papers.
Thank you. I call upon the Premier Minister of Finance to lay his documents on the table.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to lay on the table the following documents. Statutory Instrument 2023 Number 2, a proclamation by His Excellency the Governor under Section 83(1) of the Virgin Islands Constitution Order 2007, appointing the time and place at which the second sitting of the 5th session of the 4th House of Assembly of the Virgin Islands shall be held. British Virgin Islands Tourist Board 2016 Annual Report. British Virgin Islands Tourist Board financial statements for the year ending 31st December 2016. British Virgin Islands Tourist Board 2017 Annual Report. British Virgin Islands Tourist Board financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2017. British Virgin Islands Tourist Board and Film Commission 2018 Annual Report. British Virgin Islands Tourist Board financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2018. British Virgin Islands Tourist Board 2019 Annual Report. British Virgin Islands Tourist Board financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2016. British Virgin Islands Tourist Board 2020 Annual Report. British Virgin Islands Tourist Board financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2020, and Statutory Instrument 2023 Number 5, Financial Services Fees Amendment Regulations 2023. Madam Speaker, while I'm on my feet, I will lay on the table on behalf of the Minister of Health and Social Development the following documents. Family Support Network 2020 Annual Report and Family Support Network audited financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2020. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. I call upon the clerk.
Notices of motion given orally.
Thank you. I call upon the Thank you. I call upon the territorial member, Honorable Carvin Malone, to give notice.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I give notice that at a later stage in the proceedings, I would seek leave to ask the questions standing in my name under item 7, Roman numeral 1 through Roman numeral 2 on the order of the day.
Thank you. I call upon the clerk.
Number 7, questions and answers to questions.
Thank you. I call upon the territorial member, Honorable Carvin Malone, to ask his questions.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, would the Honorable Premier and Minister of Finance please provide a copy and disclose the value of each of the 3 contracts issued in relation to the Commission of Inquiry between the Government of the Virgin Islands and Withers BVI Limited? And further, please state the amounts paid on each of the contracts and the resulting balances of each.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the value of each of the 3 contracts signed between the Government of the Virgin Islands and Withers BVI is as follows. The first contract was for the amount of $3 million with an extension of $1,500,000, totaling $4,500,000. The second contract was in the amount of $2 million, and the third contract was in the amount of $1,200,000. Madam Speaker, as shown in the table provided, the payments and balances are as I will now outline. First contract payments totaled $4,933,314.62, with a balance of $6,685.38. Madam Speaker, the second contract payments totaled $1,951,858.91, with a balance of $48,141.00. Madam Speaker, the third contract payments totaled $494,000, $302.90, with a balance of $705,697. With a balance of $705,697.10. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, number 2, would the Honorable Premier and the Minister of Finance please agree that the completion and submittal of the Withers-Cox report with details of their findings following months of parallel investigations and stellar works with or on behalf of the Attorney General's chambers with regards to the Commission of Inquiry is in the best interest of the people of the Virgin Islands, and further, that A, the negotiated sum required to secure or attain the Withers-Cox report would be paid forthwith, and B, the Withers-Cox report, once received, would be made public immediately upon receipt thereof.
Madam Speaker, I thank the Territorial at-Large opposition member for his question. Madam Speaker, I believe that the Withers report from a historical perspective is important to have. Therefore, at some point in the future, we will budget those funds, and once the report is complete, it will be made public. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Just a very small follow-up on that. Is it envisaged that the appropriation for that could be made before the dissolution on or before March 12th, 2023?
Speaker, I intend to do a schedule of additional provisions at some time between now and the dissolution of the House. We will look at all our priorities and determine where funds will be allocated. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Question number 3. Madam Speaker, given that the Honorable Premier and Minister of Finance by convention is entrusted to solicit responses and thereafter answer questions posed to His Excellency the Governor regarding any of the 5 subjects under his responsibility, except in areas of national security, would the Honorable Premier please disclose the number of persons currently held or being held on remand at His Majesty's prison, and state the shortest and longest periods that these persons have been held on remand?
Madam Speaker, I thank the Territorial at-Large opposition member for his question. Madam Speaker, I would prefer for these questions having anything to do with the prison to be directed to the member or the minister responsible for prisons, which is the Minister for Health and Social Development. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Premier. I will redirect. Number 4, and I'll state and then you'll see. Madam Speaker, given that the Honorable Premier and Minister of Finance by convention is entrusted to solicit responses and therefore answer questions posed to His Excellency the Governor regarding any of the 5 subjects under his responsibility, except in areas of national security, would the Honorable Premier please state the primary reasons why persons are being held on remand for extended periods?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'll repeat again. I would prefer for these to be directed to the Minister for Health and Social Development, who is responsible for prisons. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Premier. Question number 5. Madam Speaker, given that the Honorable Premier and Minister of Finance by convention is entrusted to solicit responses and thereafter answer questions posed to His Excellency the Governor regarding any of the 5 subjects under his responsibility, except in areas of national security, would the Honorable Premier please state whether there exists a timetable for each person currently held on remand at His Majesty's prison to be scheduled for appearance in court for the determination of guilt or innocence?
Madam Speaker, I thank the Territorial at-Large member for his question. And as I said before, this particular question I would prefer to be directed to the Minister for Health and Social Development, who is responsible for prisons. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Premier. Number 6. Madam Speaker, given that the Honorable Premier and Minister of Finance by convention is entrusted to solicit responses and thereafter answer questions posed to His Excellency the Governor regarding any of the 5 subjects under his responsibility, except in areas of national security, would the Honorable Premier please advise this Honorable House whether or not the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force and/or the Department of Public Prosecution are adequately staffed to properly investigate and administer justice on a timely and efficient manner, so as to ensure that persons who are charged and after adjudication, if found innocent, can be immediately released, and that persons who are found guilty could serve their time in prison and thereafter released?
Madam Speaker, again, I thank the Territorial at-Large opposition member for his question. Madam Speaker, I will let the Police Commissioner say whether he believes the organization is adequately staffed or not. Commendable efforts have been made to fill their existing vacancies. They have a total staff complement at the moment of 340 persons. Last year, 33 of 67 vacancies were filled. And this year, 5 of 49 vacancies will be filled. According to the Police Commissioner, it is not a resourcing issue. It is a logistical issue of getting the file ready, liaising with the DPP, and getting an available court time. With respect to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, recruitment is ongoing for 1 legal executive officer, 3 senior Crown Counsels, and 1 accounts officer. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Premier. Question number 7. Madam Speaker, given that the Honorable Premier and Minister of Finance is entrusted to solicit responses and thereafter answer questions posed to His Excellency the Governor regarding any of the 5 subjects under his responsibility except in areas of national security, would the Premier please advise this Honorable House of the number of civil servants, public officials, or statutory board officers who are charged with offenses and are currently on probation with partial or full salaries being paid and not allowed to report to work pending their appearance before the justice system and thereafter the outcome of their cases.
Madam Speaker, thank you. I thank the Territorial at Large opposition member for his question. Madam Speaker, currently there are 10 public officers on interdiction. While on interdiction, these officers are not permitted to report to work until the completion of an investigation or criminal proceedings against the officer. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Premier. Question number 8. Madam Speaker, given that the Honorable Premier and Minister of Finance by convention is entrusted to solicit responses and thereafter answer questions posed to His Excellency the Governor regarding any of the 5 subjects under his responsibility, except in areas of national security, would the Honorable Premier please indicate whether or not there are concerns that with the increased number of partial or full salaries would negatively affect the efficiency of the public service and statutory bodies in the discharge of their duties, and please indicate what contingency plans exist or have been implemented to fill the voids created.
Madam Speaker, again, I thank the Territorial at Large opposition member for his question. Madam Speaker, it is agreed that inadequate staffing levels, for whatever reason, throughout ministries and departments impacts the overall efficiency and productivity of the public service, and available funds should be provided to fill such vacancies. For those officers on interdiction, the total cost of the officer's regular salary is approximately $370,000. The accounting officers are required to maintain full emoluments for those officers on interdiction, should the charges be withdrawn against the officer or if the officer is vindicated. All withheld monies are returned to the officer. To maintain the efficient running of the department, ministry accounting officers may need additional funding to remunerate officers who may be asked to take on additional responsibilities in the absence of those officers on interdiction, or to engage a substitute officer. Unfortunately, contingency plans require additional funding, and those monies which require accounting officers to find additional monies within their existing budgets may derogate from the programs and services provided to the public. The Department of Human Resources has sought legal advice on the ways to improve the efficiency of the disciplinary process to avoid the administrative delays. Unfortunately, for matters involving officers with criminal proceedings, we are subject to the systematic delays in the justice system, which significantly exasperates the problem. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Before I ask question number 9, I'd just like to state for the record that the reason why I'm not asking any follow-up is that the governor himself is not here to follow up these, and I don't think it will be proper to ask any follow-up on those questions. Question number 9, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, given that Section 10, Roman numeral 10, of the Framework for the Implementation of the Recommendations of the Commission of Inquiry report states that the Government of National Unity and the UK government will enter into a binding agreement for implementation of the Commission of Inquiry report recommendations and delivery of other reforms based on the framework set out in the document, would the Premier and Minister of Finance please indicate whether or not the binding agreement between the Governor of National Unity of the Virgin Islands and His Excellency the Governor and or the United Kingdom government was signed by all parties, and A, if not, why not, and B, if yes, can the House of Assembly be furnished with a copy of the signed documents forthwith?
Madam Speaker, I thank the Territorial at Large opposition member for his question. Madam Speaker, the agreement between the UK government and the BVI government was binded through an exchange of letters. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Just one follow-up on that. Would history benefit from knowing what these letters said?
Madam Speaker, history will have to say.
Would the House be privy to a copy of these letters?
Madam Speaker, pending I would say the concession of the other party, which is the United Kingdom government, I would be happy to make the letters available to the House of Assembly. Thank you.
Is that the two follow-up?
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Premier, for answering the questions as posed.
Thank you. I call upon the territorial member, Honorable Carvin Malone, to ask his questions.
Madam Speaker, given that King Garden Bay is critical to the Virgin Islands tourism product, and given that it has been 8 years since 2015 that a staff engineer at Water and Sewage Department recommended the abandonment of the low-pressure collection system installed in 1977 in favor of a hybrid gravity system, would the Honorable Deputy Premier and Minister of Communication and Work please disclose what factors were taken into consideration when the decision was made not to replace and or repair the grinder pump system after 20 years of service?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The member said it was installed in 1977. I think he made a mistake, and it was 97. So I could give a brief history on the King Garden Bay sewage system. It was in 1996, the government of the day awarded Caribbean Basin Enterprises Limited a contract to install a low-pressure sewage collection system which comprised of 36 pump stations installed, 36 pump stations installed, for the most part at individual private properties that would deliver sewage to the treatment plant. The sewage collection system was commissioned in 1997. Madam Speaker, over the years, the Water and Sewage Department's personnel found the maintenance and upkeep more and more challenging. The system required a high level of technical expertise that resulted in the system being inoperable for long periods of time while being repaired. The maintenance and operation costs were expensive. This included the electricity and replacement parts for 36 pump stations. Madam Speaker, in addition to the maintenance costs, a number of civil issues arose when the personnel from Water and Sewage Department were required to conduct repairs for maintenance checks on the pumps located on residents' private property. Madam Speaker, in addition to this, the pump stations were constructed of fiberglass and then placed in areas that were susceptible to high saline conditions, therefore resulting in the pump stations collapsing over time as the fiberglass was unable to withstand the environmental conditions. This also created a major environmental hazard to the King Garden Bay area. Madam Speaker, with the aforementioned, the government embarked to improve the entire sewage system in King Garden Bay to include the sewage collection system and the treatment facility. In May 2022, my ministry completed phase 1 of the project by modernizing the treatment facility using the latest treatment technology. Project will address all of the aforementioned challenges as it relates to sewage collection and treatment in the Kingaden Bay area. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Question number 2. Madam Speaker, would the Honorable Deputy Premier and Minister for Communication and Works please disclose what was the estimated cost to replace the grinder pump station and make repairs to the, grinder pumps and make repairs to the stations of concern to the community after 20 years of service?
Thank you for that question, Madam Speaker. While I am unable to confirm that the cost estimates were received by the Water and Sewage Department, I am unfortunately unable to state the estimated cost to replace the grinder pumps and make repairs to the station on those records, as those records have been misplaced or damaged following the passage of Hurricanes Irma and Maria. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Question number 3. Madam Speaker, would the Honorable Deputy Premier and Minister for Communication and Works please disclose the names and total sums paid to private service operators for the removal of waste from the inoperable lift stations at Kingaden Bay for the period 2015 to date?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Territorial Member, for that question. Madam Speaker, the list of names and the total sums paid to private service operators for the removal of waste from the inoperable lift stations at Kingaden Bay from 2015 to date. Connect Enterprises Limited, $20,600. K&K Heavy Equipment and Sewage Disposal, $189,264. Ricky's 24-hour Trucking and Heavy Equipment, $9,300. Triple L Heavy Equipment Rental, $2,800.
A quick math there, Madam Speaker, is over $200,000. Question number 4. Madam Speaker, will the Honorable Deputy Premier and Minister for Communication and Works please disclose the total budgeted estimate for the decommissioning and removal of the existing low-pressure collection system and for the engineering, construction, and commissioning of the proposed gravity system at Kingaden Bay?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the estimated budgetary cost for the project is earmarked at $4 million. This includes the decommissioning, removal of the low-pressure collection system, the engineering, the construction, and commissioning of the proposed gravity collection system at Kingaden Bay.
I don't know where to start on that one, so I'll go straight to number 5. Madam Speaker, would the Honorable Deputy Premier and Minister for Communication and Works state what is the estimated time allotted for the design, build, and commission of the new gravity system at Kingaden Bay? And finally, what measures would be taken to avoid spills from the gravity system into the surrounding waters of Kingaden Bay?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it is projected that the time allotted to design, build, and commission the new gravity system at Kingaden Bay is approximately 18 months. Madam Speaker, generators will be utilized as a backup power supply to the installed lift stations to circumvent any spills from the gravity system into the surrounding waters of King Garden Bay. Madam Speaker, this will ensure that the system remains functional even in the event of power outages. I thank you.
One very small follow-up on that. I take it for granted, although you can't assume anything, that the cost of the generators is embodied in the $4 million, how you call it, $4 million for the estimate that you stated above. The generators are inclusive of that?
Thank you for the follow-up. The $4 million earmarked includes the decommissioning, removal of the low-pressure collection system, the engineering, construction, commissioning of the system. I can't confirm if it includes the generators, but I presume it must have.
And the very last question. Well, statement. Question. Is it too late to sit with the district representative and non-affiliated engineering companies to rethink this project? Is it too late for that?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's never too late to do anything.
Thank you very much, Minister, for your comprehensive responses, and we look forward to working with this. Would the responses be actually sent to me?
I think they give them to you.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay, it was these? Okay.
The responses you would have already had, Honorable.
Okay, so, okay, I'm now seeing them. You will also send them. Thank you.
Thank you. I recognize Honorable Turnbull.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise on a point of information.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
I rise on a point of information.
Okay.
Yes, I'm just inquiring, the at-large members inquiring of a meeting with the district rep, and I'm just wanting to let him know, just for his information, Madam Speaker, that he can meet with me anytime. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable members, at this time, the House will recess until Thursday, February 2nd, 2023. House is now in recess.